Oh, very lovely Saturday morning to you here as we get into the news of the day. And the first thing we want to talk about is the Batman and the second weekend. We're looking at a number right now of 18.7 million for Friday. So, we talk on box office here on the new channel all the time about doing multiples, right? So you take that number on Friday and you multiply it out. Usually on the second weekend, the multiple is about 3 point whatever. Let's just say it's 3.4. That'll put us at a weekend of somewhere between 60 and 65 million for a second weekend. So that'll be a drop of about 55% or less for the Batman. I know there's a lot of numbers I'm throwing at you. Bottom line is that's a pretty solid number. It's not Joker. I mean, Joker had a 42% drop second weekend. Granted, the numbers were lower because not as many people went to see Joker opening weekend. It opened with 90 versus 134. So, of course, there's more people to see the film, right? When they haven't seen it opening weekend, they're going to go see it second weekend. So this is good. This is really good. A drop of 55% is completely acceptable for Warner Brothers as you push forward. And I think that this will definitely beat Joker's domestic haul. We'll see globally. Remember, Joker made $1 billion worldwide. I still think Batman can get there for sure. We just have to get through the next several weeks. And then obviously China, there's no Russia in play as we know what's going on over there. So that's out. But once you start throwing in these huge markets like a China, then you're going to get a larger number. So we'll keep our eye on that. But so far, that number of 55% looks pretty good. I'm okay with that. Let's also talk about this. I don't know if you heard, Kristen Stewart is going to be working with Rose Glass. And if I haven't said it before, I'm telling you now that Rose Glass and Saint Maud was the best film that I saw in 2020, right? During the COVID year. A24 was going to put that out right when COVID shut everything down. And they decided to go ahead and hold it until early 2021, right? But when I saw it right before COVID hit, I was just blown away at the artistry that Rose Glass possesses. So when you watch that film, it's very clear to see why Kristen Stewart said, I want to work with this woman because she is that talented. And I think Kristen Stewart even is on record saying that that was her favorite movie of that year, which means we have the same taste, Kristen Stewart and I. There's a news flash there for you. But listen, again, when you go, let's go back, Batman. We're gonna go back and forth here a little bit. I think that some people had a little too high of expectations for this film, including myself. I thought it was going to open at 175, 200, and we end up with a number that's going to be closer to, really, obviously we saw 134, but at the end of the day, we're not going to get quite the number on this, but we knew without families, this film was not going to be able to do a number that is, MCU top tier MCU movie. It's not going to happen. In fact, a lot of people are going to see it for the second time, and I think that is really where you're going to get this extra audience that you need to keep these numbers going. Kyle here. I went to see Batman for a fourth time on Wednesday. Fourth time. Wow. Theater was packed, and it did do well during the week. It might get made about 11 million the first two, and then Wednesday went a little down, and Thursday was a little bit lower. And then, of course, it's going to pop on Friday. People are off. They're going to the movies more, and the weekends here with it being Saturday and Sunday. But without families on Saturday and Sunday, the number can only go so high. It's not going to go as high as we see those MCU films like Shang-Chi, even Eternals, okay, we're just saying recent films. Those have a family component to them. So when you remove that, the number cannot get as high because you're not having as many families there. And we got some other people here. Hey, Zane, how you doing, man? It's going well here on a Saturday. We're going to do these Saturday and Sunday morning to talk about box office and also whatever else is going on in the film world. Obviously, the other news that we touched on last night here on the channel was, of course, Deadpool 3 is coming out. You're getting Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds working together in their third film in a row. And it just makes sense because when you get to know somebody and you work well with somebody, what do? You want to work with them again and again and again, especially in Hollywood where you are connected to the director. So Ryan Reynolds has a vision for what he wants to see for Deadpool 3. You bring in the writers. Obviously, he's worked with now 3 different directors on Deadpool when this thing gets made. But that said, he knows how to make a film. He knows how they work. And of course, Sean Levy does with Free Guy. And then this weekend with the Adam Project, So you have a collaboration that's working. When you have that, you keep it going. You don't want to bring in someone new because you never know how that's going to go. So for that to happen, really, again, no surprise, Deadpool 3 is going to happen. It's going to be R. Don't worry about that. There's no way this thing is not going to be R, because if it is PG-13, you remove so much of the element of awesomeness that is Deadpool, right? F-bomb after F-bomb, the violence. It's just filthy, and that's what made it work. There's no way that Disney knows that, okay? They might not love it, and they don't do R-rated movies, but they're not going to do an R-rated movie. It's going to be 20th Century, the old Fox. It is still a Disney film technically. As I've said so many times, when Disney took over Fox and rebranded it 20th Century Studios, they really just obviously took all the resources, and they kept fair amount of people, but they also got rid of a fair amount of people, okay? So they really went in there and kind of redesigned Fox, now 20th Century. That means that they can still, though, proceed with these films that are edgy. We've seen quite a few already from 20th Century, and certainly Searchlight, right? Searchlight is still under the umbrella of Disney. Fox, Searchlight, now Searchlight, and they release films like Antlers horror film, The Night House horror film. These are R-rated films, and when you can do that, of course you can make Deadpool R. I don't understand how people can't make that jump and understand that you can still release an R-rated film and have it be under the Disney umbrella. Times are changing, and they also know this, that people want to see Deadpool the way Deadpool was. They're not going to switch it and make it censored to bring it into a PG-13 rating. It's very clearly a very successful franchise when you have an R-rated Deadpool. They're not going to mess with that. So look for that film. And they said TBA. Here's the thing. When they announce it right now, they announced Deadpool 2, or 3, excuse me. And you have Deadpool 3. You got to write the script, which they're writing right now. And then you've got to go through, again, different drafts of the script to get it to you want, finally to that shooting script. Once you get to the shooting script, then you can start, obviously, the process of shooting the movie. You also have to, at this time, get everybody in the right position. Brolin, Zazie Beetz, everybody's got to come back into scheduling and get this thing going so that when we say our shoot date is going to be late 2022, let's say October of this year, then you start. Once you start shooting, that's going to take many months. Let's just say at least 4, probably 6 months, because it is a big movie. It's not some tiny little indie film that you can shoot in 2 weeks to a month. Some of these films, they shoot, honestly, in a week. Okay, because they're so small and there's no effects and it's just, character driven. Go in, knock it out, you're out. So this is different, obviously, with Deadpool. It's going to take time to shoot it. Then you're going to go in and put post-production, all the CGI in. I think the earliest you're going to see Deadpool 3 is 2024. I would say mid-summer 2024, but the way things are going with COVID and restrictions on set, I've talked about this before, when you shoot a movie now, it's much harder to do so than when you did back in 2017, let's say, or 16 when they shot Deadpool 2. Let's use that for example. Now you have COVID compliance officers walking around. You have people saying, put your mask on, take your mask off. This all adds to the time to shoot something. Therefore, Deadpool 3 is going to take longer to shoot, longer to do the CGI, all this, and then finally you're going to get a release date either 2024 or 2025. That's the earliest we're going to see it. But the good news is they're going ahead finally. I think it got slowed down in the whole process. Once Disney bought Fox a couple of years ago, they still were trying to figure out exactly what one wanted to do. And I'm sure there's many discussions that happened where, like, we really need to make this PG-13. No, let's make it R. So when, obviously the R people win. They have to win. There's no way they don't win, okay? Let's go to a couple more comments. Zane, I've watched Batman twice now. I'd like to wait for a while for HBO Max release to watch it again as opposed to watching it over the first few weeks. I've only seen it once, Zane, and I'll tell you, I mentioned this. I love the film, but the 3-hour runtime is such a commitment. I've been so slammed with all the award stuff going on. As you may or may not know, it is award season. This weekend's Critics' Choice Awards are going to be headed over there. DGA Awards coming up tonight. I'm going to an event down there in Beverly Hills later today. And I don't say that for, ooh, look, Eric's going, but I'm just saying it's busy. I don't have time to go see the Batman right now. I really want to see it again, but also the fact that it's 3 hours. I had like an hour and 45 minutes to squeeze in one of the days this week, and I said, I can't do it. I can't go see the Batman. It's 3 hours. And I know Some of you are like, you always say the Batman's 3 hours. Well, it is, okay? So that's a longer commitment. But I think some people are going to see it twice and then wait for it for HBO Max. By the way, I do not love the fact that they said, we're going to put this on HBO Max in 45 days. Why are you doing that? I don't think there's any reason to even mention that, because once you tell people that you are going to have this movie on HBO Max in 45 days, you're giving them a reason to wait. Hey, you know what? Let's just hang tight. No rush. No, don't mention it's going to be on HBO Max. We know it's going to be, but why tell them it's going to be 45 days? Announce that like literally on day 44. Hey, by the way, it's going to be available tomorrow. Boom. That's how you do it. I don't understand the marketing of this. They already have their subscribers for HBO Max. You're going to get a little bit of a bump when it actually arrives, but the fact that you're telling people it's going to be on in 45 days, you're taking money out of the cash register from people that are just like, I'm going to wait. So don't do that. I don't know what Warner Brothers is thinking in that case. Another one, back to Deadpool, they have no reason to change the rating because the first two Deadpools made money, right, with R rating. Exactly. They know that, okay? Disney, as scared as they are of an R-rated film, which they're not because it's 20th century, we talked about that, okay, is that they know the formula works and this film makes money. Why are you going to mess with something that works? And talk about R-rated films. I still think that if the Batman were R, we'd be looking at a very similar number, right? I mean, listen, I don't know. You guys have been to the movie. When you go and look around, how many young kids do you see? Very few, okay? And we all know that if you have a kid that's like 14, you can bring him into an R-rated movie. Just like, yeah, I'm with him. He's allowed to see it. So I think that the Batman could have had a very similar number to what we're looking at right now with an R rating. I don't know. I think Warner Brothers knows that would be a gamble, but I really do believe the numbers would not be that far off because I don't see the crowd. I don't see kids at the movies. So therefore, they would come at R. In fact, maybe more people would see it. I saw on Twitter last night someone has seen Batman 5 times. Wow. That's, first of all, you're talking about 15 hours of commitment, right? 15 hours. 2/3 of a day-ish. And you're talking, that's a lot of commitment. And I love the fact that you love the film. And certainly, listen, what Matt Reeves did from a filmmaking perspective here is technically just gorgeous. But again, that 3-hour commitment is tough. And it's awesome, though, that people are supporting the film. Listen, if you love art, go out and support it as many times as you can. If you can spend 15 hours, going to see a movie, but let's also know this, it's more than 15 hours. You got to drive there, you got to sit through the previews. That's 3 hours and 20 minutes right there. So all that stuff adds up. But no, listen, it's great. I want to see this film. I want to see this film succeed. Who doesn't? So right now, again, that second weekend is going to be about minus 53, minus 55%, which will put it at about 62, 65 million, somewhere in that range for second weekend. Really good, really solid. And then we'll see how it continues because, again, no real competition. Next week is The Lost City with Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum, Brad Pitt. Those are not direct head-to-head films, but it is a new film. And ultimately, that means more people will go to see that, which takes even a small percentage of people out of your pool. I may see Batman 5 times. I've never gone past 4. Well, you saw Endgame 4 times, Kyle. That's impressive. 4 times is a lot to sit through, again, a 3-hour movie. But I love Endgame. I only saw it once. I love it so much. It really is one of my favorite films of all time. It is because it's such a perfect wrap to that, conclusion of that arc. That 10-year odyssey that we had with MCU to wrap with Endgame was really just perfection. But I never revisited that film. Some point I will, but I loved it so much in that initial viewing, I didn't even want to go back and watch it again. Sometimes I do that with films. I just go, that's it. I think we're good. All right, guys, I think we're going to wrap it here. Make it a nice little tight 15 minutes or so on this Saturday morning. We'll do it again on, tomorrow. We'll talk about what the actual number is. I would expect it to be about 64 or less. 64 million. Let's just put the number there for Batman second weekend. And I'll see you again right here on the channel. Like, subscribe. Really appreciate you guys watching. We'll talk again very soon, tomorrow morning, in fact. Thanks. Have a great Saturday.